All right, it's still good morning, Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. And before we get into the conversation, which is on ending banditry in northwest Nigeria, let's see an excerpt of yesterday's conversation put together by Ibrahim Dan Hamidu.
Let's just take example. We have the BVN, we have NIN, we have, that's of late. We have the registry for birth certificates, we have hospitals, all these are places where there are information, people use cards, so there are traces everywhere. You can connect. But what happens is that every institution or every organization views its information that it has as its own information for its own use, and is very unlikely to share it with others.
There is no intelligence, whether electronic, whether it is from this, from anywhere, that is better than human intelligence. And this is the intelligence, mostly, is the primary intelligence these bandits use. So that's why I always say, we, the analog officers, this digitization of almost everything, even the operation again, I think we better start reducing the degree, the speed we're taking it. For example, those days we know that when you are told to go in an operation, you must have a clear objective.
And finally, the issue of corruption within the cycle. Block of supply chain, how are they accessing the social needs? Because you will be surprised that some of these guys are living at their comfort zone much more than the people living at the Hilton. In that forest where they are getting access to fuel as they need it. While I and you spend 3-4 hours on the queue in Kano, Sokoto, Kebbi, Kaduna, Abuja before we get it. How are they getting it? The machines are serviceable. How are they being serviced? And how are they getting access to weaponries? Who manage their armories? And what are the supply chain mechanisms? We need to break that. So if we are sincere and honest, I repeat myself, and it remains my position, that we can bring down the level of insecurity in Northwest and North Central within 60 days.
All right, thank you, Ibrahim Hamidu, for that. Those excerpts, let's now introduce here in the studio. Rejoining us for today's conversation is Wing Commander Musa Salman, retired. He's a development, peace, and security expert. It's a pleasure to welcome you again.
Thank you so much.
Nigeria.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Right, and also joining us here is Assistant Inspector General of Police, AIG Mohammed Mustafa, retired, MNI. He was AIG Zone 10, comprising Sokoto, Zamfara, and Kebbi States. He retired in 2021. A pleasure to have you join us. Good morning, Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
All right, we still have joining us for the conversation, but via Zoom. Let me introduce all the way from Lagos, Assistant Inspector General of Police, AIG Abutu Yaro, retired. He is a consultant, national security and strategy expert. Many thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right, let me start with you, AIG retired Abutu Yaro. We heard a lot from you when you were here in the studio some time ago when we talked about banditry, and because of the experience you had, we've also talked a lot about what the causes are. Today we'll prefer to talk more about what we can do, particularly as the defense chiefs, the military chiefs are in the field now trying to deal with the issue. Where do we go from here? How do we change the situation in the Northwest region?
Thank you very much. We go from where we stopped talking about last. And evidence of that is being demonstrated by the recent policy directive that defense chiefs and relevant actors in the security subsector should move to the epicenter. So that is a continuum or actualization of what we earlier said, and that is commendable. In as much as that is so, it is equally relevant at this point in time that as they move into the field, it should be a full declaration of war on this element. That is to say, enjoining the natives to move away from the impacted area, let real military action take place. My belief is that when these insurgents or bandits have a taste of real action in battle with the armed forces, certainly the ferocity of the attack, the determination of their criminality, and the extent to which they can go will be amputated and they will fizzle out. Certainly, a full declaration of war on them is the best way to go for now. And we should be able to separate the clusters of communities in the impacted area to relocate so that we can visit the force of the federal government of Nigeria on these elements. They cannot continue to hold us to ransom. So I so plead that moving to the theater should be accompanied by declaration of total war on them. That is a complete practical war on terror. That is my take.
AIG Abutuyara retired. Your opening comments are quite appreciated, and then the policy directive, to the security chiefs to move to the epicenter. I'm sure if you recall, it would not be the first time, that is coming. But maybe for this administration, looking at previous administrations and since this issue started, what do you expect them to do differently? Because, doing the same thing and expecting a different result, what it is called.
Hello? What I'm saying is still very clear. They are not just moving there to the impacted zone. A full declaration of war, military action, because these people are levying war on the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So it's not just a palliative intervention. It's not a restraining action, but military action against them. That is the way to go. And that is what I believe can give us immediate relief, long-term relief, and medium-term relief.
Thank you. Let's get back here in the studio and find out what AIG Mustafa retired thinks about your comments, declaring war on the bandits, and then I'd like you to speak specifically about the directive. I'm sure, like I mentioned earlier, this is not the first time. So is it that all the times that they go there, they go to dance or play with them? So they've been declaring war. So, but I mean, what do we want to see differently this time around? From our security operatives.
Like he has said, it has to be holistic. Holistic in the sense that, you see, you have been doing all these things all the time, like you said, changing the names of the codes of the operations, operation this, and that, And then it has been discussed yesterday here. There were so many problems, people operating as silos, where intelligence is not, there's no fusion, the law enforcement are not together, So, we have to it has to be a total war, like he said. It has to be holistic. You have to carry the citizens very well. It's not just use the kinetic, you go back. What happens to the citizens that are living with these people? Right now, what is their own contribution to the war itself? Even as you are carrying out the kinetics, you have to carry the people along. Issues of intelligence, you have to look at it. The law enforcement are not very much together. The individuals are not reporting. The intelligence, they are all there. Everybody is just keeping to himself. So this will have to change the narrative. This is the way to go. Okay, you want to say, okay, you want an operation. At least now, it is at least we are seeing it. You see, there's all the law enforcement there. Look at the Niger Delta now. Why is the food production going on? The body language of the president said, we must achieve this. Everybody is working. You even see, I was surprised, I even saw the Minister of State Defense in uniform. That's the way to go. Everybody has to work up, individuals. All stakeholders have to be carried, and everybody in the state has a stake, and everybody has to go out. If you want to have a timeline, 6 months, you want to do it. Let's do it. And then we sit down and assess at the end of the 6 months. What is our success? What are the lessons learned? What are the challenges? Look at it, but we've been carrying on fighting this thing for 10 years or 11 years. Since 2004, this thing reared itself at around Yobe. We would have just dipped in the boat. And the problem, the major problem now is, let's face it, the principal law enforcement agency in this country is one. The Nigerian police, it has been abandoned. The neglect there is too much. You understand? Then the roof will fall on us. All of us, we refuse to do the needful. So we have to wake up from this slumber, sit down and look at this. We were not like this before. Wow, when we were outside the country, we were rated as the best. You are always saying in NTA, you are rated as the best. You go for peacekeeping operations and all that. Why? Because you have all the tools. And you are really motivated. Your salary as well is deploying. You are there. Where you are, for a vehicle, you want to take fuel anywhere for trust you want to go, you do it. Whatever is your needs is there. So we allowed, abandoned the skill, our security architecture to just go down. And everybody is important in the system. Look at, okay, you are talking about now, okay, in the judiciary now. The criminal justice administration now, you left it. You have increased salary for the judicial officer. Go and see what 3 stars police officer takes. Retired police officer. You are paying 40,000 naira. And no Nigerians look at the National Assembly. Nigerians are not, these people are parents. Look at check it. How can you be paying 40,000 naira and you expect something? At the end of the month, always I think of those that are close to me to see what I can do for them.
As salary or as what? 40,000?
Pension, 40,000.
Okay, pension.
After a time, sometimes they will wait for 2 years to get. But in the same system, the same law enforcement in some, after a time, maximum 3 months you get your own. Why is the disparity? Why the neglect and abandonment? Our National Assembly, the lawmakers should wake up. Security is not when you are moving to your office, you see retinue of policemen following you. The National Assembly is flooded with policemen. Your houses, your offices, when you're traveling. It's not. What happens to the rest of the citizens? Let's get it completely. Overhaul and let's get it. And that's the way to go.
Indeed. What happens to the rest of us? But let me get to Wing Commander Salmanu. You were here yesterday, and so it made sense to allow the newbies to have a say. Yesterday, we talked about several things. We talked about holding the military to account. We talked about tackling corruption. We talked about enhancing intelligence. But in all of this, how important is synergy amongst the military, the police, all security agencies, and then deterrence when we talk about corruption specifically?
Well, thank you so much. Truly, the synergy cannot be overemphasized. I mean, from the onset, we have spoken about the need for a whole of society. In fact, not just only the security operatives or the security institutions, but everybody. Everybody has a role to play. But there are people that are mandated, that hold a higher mandate to this, making it possible. And those are members of the security forces, state security force, whether it's the police, whether it's the military. Like he said, the police actually is an internal security operation, so police play the lead. They are the lead agency. So when I hear that the first thing we are thinking of is to bombard or to carry out military action, I'm saying, wait a minute, are we... I know it has reached that stage, but it has reached that stage because we didn't do the preliminaries. Security, the police, being the lead agency for this, should step up to take some of this, because even when there is military action and the military let's say, overrun a position or capture a position, the military will not be able to hold. They will pull back, and so the police need to step in and to take control of that location.
They have the capacity, though?
Well, capacity, he has said that we know that we are a society that is very much under-policed. When you look at the ratio, when you look at does the citizen to the police, is very grossly inadequate. And when you look at even the use that we put the police to, he said we have retinue of people, or what I call them, cycles of securities created around. Every big man has a cycle around himself, and every other person does not have anything. So we are having, and therefore we create this illusion of security among the elite, whereas it's not there. So, and we carry what should be, so there's that inadequate number. There's the fact that we don't use them appropriately because we take so many to so little places just for so little or few number of the citizenry. Then also the fact that there is always this reluctance on agencies to take up, when either take up blame or take action on something that is clearly their mandate, right? If if agencies do not do that, then it leaves a kind of, everybody expects the other to do that. Now, even that, as you said, the synergy will be that where every or any agency is lacking, the other one fills in. Where we are moving, we come, plan together and kind of act together, share intelligence, share everything, so that nobody is concerned about at the end of the day, everybody wants to take the glory. When agencies want to say, we are the ones, you need to see when some maybe success is recorded. Everybody runs to the press to say, we did this. Then you hear counter and so on and so forth. This is when agencies feel individualistic and they want to take everything, glory, and there is no that synergy. It's only when, remember, the adversary is watching. They know. They understand the society because they are part of it. And they know that if so person are acting here, they know that the others will not. Or if they have information, the others, they will not share with anybody, or so on and so forth.
What are the factors that funds the lack of synergy among the security operators?
Honestly, I think it's we're getting there. The big elephant in the room is money, corruption. We are having a system whereby people, you see, you go around and you see poor institutions but wealthy individuals within that system. Why is it that when we have officers, I mean, in all without taking anyone out, in the institutions, you find out that they live life of affluence, whereas the institutions from where they work, if you go there, they're in pitiable state. Why is it so? So at the end of the day, because we want, so why a lot of it, you find out that people want to take the glory and so on, so that when they go, they can justify the huge amounts that they are either collecting or they want to collect. And so you find out that at the end of the day, how do we utilize those resources? It's not about just give resources. And there's where the call for accountability comes in. From the top to the bottom. What is the amount that is actually required? And how is that amount being utilized for what it was said to be done? Do we review that, both at the executive, the legislature, and so on, and even the citizenry? Do we ask questions? Are these questions heard? Are there responses? And so on and so forth. So it's an effort that everybody has to get involved. Like you said, at the end of the day, we are all affected by this. If the police performs very well, everybody is safe. If the military also and other security forces perform very well, everybody feels safe. So it's a commodity that affects everyone. Therefore, everybody should get interested. Everybody should ask questions. And when we see that things are going wrong, we should speak. We should speak out. There is that tendency of feeling loyalties from where maybe if it's the police, if I'm from police, for example, I don't want to critique the police. Or if I'm from the military, I don't want to do that, and so on, because colleagues, former colleagues or bosses and so on are watching. But then it has passed that. It's beyond that. Like I said here yesterday, I am from Kaduna State. I travel Kaduna. In the past, from here, Abuja, at any time I could go to Kaduna. I could carry my kids and family in a car and we drive. I can't do that. I can't do that. This is just 200 kilometers. My kids cannot enjoy that pleasure of driving from here to Kaduna freely without having any doubts or any thoughts or what will happen to them. So therefore, it wouldn't pay me if I gloss over things or think that I have to cover something. So the truth is that time has come where we have to demand for accountability, we have to demand for transparency, we have to demand that when monies are budgeted for something that they are done, and we have to demand that when people do not carry out their responsibility, that there are sanctions. Until that is done, then nothing happens.
But how do Nigerians go about demanding?
Well, it's a democracy. You know, it's a democracy, and every citizen, one, can demand by speaking out. That's one, you know. And there are so many other ways. We vote, right? And so on and so forth.
Well, I'll pause you, Wing Commander Moses Halmana, because, you know, the speaking out, a lot of Nigerians are speaking out. But another question is, are they listening?
But you see, so you don't give up. You don't despair because you say you spoke and nobody listened and so on. I know deep there are people analyzing this for decision makers. Whenever anything is said, whenever anything is done, there are people really analyzing this and giving policy options to policymakers.
Okay,
So,
talking about policy options to policymakers, I'd like to get to AIG Butu Yaro. You know, yesterday, I don't know if you watched the program, but I'll just quickly fill you in. One of our guests did talk about the fact that the bandits, those, you know, carrying out the attacks in the Northwest are known, where they are, you know, their location is known, everything about them is known. I want to find out if you share the same position. And if you do you think that we should give a time frame, you know, to all of this to end? Just so, like Salmana is saying, we can begin to hold them accountable. Because if there's no time frame, it means that they can just go on fighting endlessly and, you know, claim to be doing something, like you said. This declaration of war, there be a time frame to it. Do you think that these people can be fleshed out, they were told, in 60 days? Do you agree with that standpoint?
I do. And that position is a continuum of my earlier presentation some weeks back on this same medium. In most of the locations we talk about, the impacted area in the Northwest, in most of the locations where these bandits are, most of them are primarily camping or residing within the domain, the territorial domain of their traditional settlements. That is why the Northwest, on most local government by local government basis, the existence of the camps of these bandits are a matter of common knowledge. To the extent that some of them, their parents live in the neighboring villages, whereas the camp is in the extant forest, extant to that village. So it's still remains that flushing them out means sensitizing the local communities to move from impacted areas and then find action spot literally. Still remain so with of his aboriginal home and aboriginal local, and many of these characters, and these are people who are known, the antecedents and the kind of the is known. Forcing them out is not a difficult thing. The important thing is the proclamation to battle is very important. Begin to look at this matter from palliative perspective, from the fact that all of us are aboriginal element. Of course, if an aboriginal element becomes subversive and left against his country, he has to be taken out. There's no other language more than that. So the issue is that we can still separate our local residents and from every center we know locations we know these people. At the time frame a very simple thing. Somebody said yesterday that 60 days is up. Yes, it is up. The important thing is to ask the military actor, what are your logistic requirements in this 60 days? Both platforms, logistics, money, whatever that you, and then they will do a clean job and give us this result. Local government to local government, they will take care of these situations. The locations are known. The camps are known. And this is very important. So my belief, and espousing it, is that the declaration of war is very, very important. And when the declaration of war has to come to the assembly and the presidency to give it legit authority. Certainly our men, you know what to do and to get this mess. I so advise.
Thank you very much, AIJ Abutuyaro, for the advice. Let's get back here in the studio. Now, let me say, some time ago, when AIJ Abutuyaro was here in this studio, he did say that part of the issues was that the local government system is almost absent in most of these places, and that helped to fuel this crisis, the absence of governance at that level. And so, if now we are able to have an effective local government in place in most of these places, how well do you think this will help to solve the crisis? For instance, if the military moves in, reclaims these territories, and then it reclaims these places where the bandits are festering, and then the local government is in place to administer real governance, how well do you think this will help solve the issues?
It will definitely. Like I said, the absence of local government actually has really more successes. But as you said it, the police is spread everywhere. That's no. But at the same time, you have ungoverned places all over the place. Those days were forest guards and all that. We abandoned them. These people went in, took over the place, and they are eating us back. So all these things are attributed to the lack of governance at the local level. At least they were doing certain things. They were taking care of some of these things. But these things just suddenly disappear. But at the same time, we still have the structure. The structures are still there. So what we do is, after having a robust operational visit, you take over the place. Then you don't allow these things to happen again. As long as you leave it, operate and go back, they will still go back. They will regroup. And then you are worse off for it. So I think what we have to do, we just have to correct some of these things. Now, I think from what is happening, you can see from CDS all down, there's a kind of, unity of purpose for us to do things. Everybody is being involved. So we have to just wake up from this slumber and just take it. It's not hard, like I said it.
But some have blamed, some have said that there are sympathizers in the military hierarchy, which is part of why it's difficult, because AIJ Abutuyaro keeps insisting that we know where these people are. We know who they are. We know where they are. So why do we allow it to fester?
Let's flush them. We have. The military is a well-trained organization. Let's flush them out. They are always marshalling all the people. Abutu was my commissioner of this AIG of the zone. He was my commissioner in Zopra. So we know the trend, everything. We sit down, we know ourselves. These things, give yourself time now. Stop. The political will must be there from the top. Then it has to cascade down. It has to go to the down the ladder. We just have to come up and find this in our way. Okay, give ourselves the 6 months. Somebody was talking about, I think Dr. Gil was saying, 6 months. You can do that. Give yourself and do it simultaneously nationwide. All the forests that have been taken away, these people are known. Sit down, map out, sectorize, then they deploy it and do what you can do.
All right, thank you, AIG.
And the governors too. The governors look at it. Okay, like the meeting they had, the last meeting at Katsina, which was organized by the UN and all that. What is the outcome? Some of the governors didn't even attend. You understand? The governor of Katsina was very, very serious if you look at it on those issues, on that meeting. But what happens? It's like 2 months. The governor is still crying all over the place.
They're writing the communique.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the week commander, Musa Salmanu now. You know, so much has been said, you know, from yesterday and even before yesterday. This is one topic Good Morning Nigeria has focused on for a long time, and we seem not to be making a headway. But I want you to tell us lessons that has been learned from other countries that have been able to deal with banditry. Examples, by the way, because some people say, like AIJ was trying to say, that sometimes even when you deal with a major part, there are remnants that eventually regroup and then years later, you know, come back again. But give us lessons of countries that have dealt with banditry and put it to a standstill. Are there lessons to learn from?
Well, there are lots of lessons, though I might not go specific into countries, but I want us to look at it within this context of the taking a holistic approach. That's looking at human security, broadening the scope of what security is. Instead of focusing on, and this is very important also, kinetic means, which is what a lot of us have been discussing here from yesterday to today, but also broadening it and saying that, okay, if you sectorize, if you use military force or of military grade and so on and so forth, what next? Or even is that sufficient? Will that actually solve the problem? What I want us to look at is more of the human security, to see security as that the well-being of the individual himself. If we start, so we throw out incentives also, and kind of try to look at this ungoverned spaces or misgoverned. Some of them are even misgoverned. There are security agents there, but they are part and parcel of the problem. Or there are presence of government there, but it's also a problem. The presence of government is even a problem there than a solution. So if we look at that, we look at the wider aspect and say, okay, what are the causes, both remote and causes of this, and try to solve them one after the other as we are in the kinetic. Because if you prioritize, and this is the moment to actually prioritize kinetic means anyway, because they are out, people have come out, they are taking arms against the state, and they are making everywhere unlivable and so on. So you have to subdue them to a certain extent. But it has to come hand in hand with other means, with provision of facilities and amenities in those communities, with provide means of livelihoods or how people can go back to their farms and so on and so forth, so that people will not be enticed in this, and when and get back.
When you pull back,
they are just at the mercy of vulnerable and so on and so forth. So until we look at it holistically, and because even when we do examples like what the UN was trying to do during, the UN has a reservoir of all where this has happened and where it has solved. But every situation is unique. Every community, even as we have seen here, whether it was in the northwest or it is in the northeast, was in the northwest or now in the northeast and now in the northwest, you find out that there are peculiarities. Now, and every society has to be looked at with that peculiarity. But what is common everywhere is the root causes of this. What are those layers, or what are those things that were neglected over the period of time that we have to bring back? We have to improve infrastructure, for example, create roads and ensure that people are able to move around and trade among themselves. Create roads so that even if they're feeder roads and so on, so that people are able to farm and bring out those and earn a living for themselves. Create, hospitals, schools, and so on and so forth, so that when these communities, first they are encouraged to go back to these communities. When they go back, there is something they are going back to. So when we do that, people gradually, it takes time. It took a long time for us to get to where we are. We will not, there's no silver bullet to say that today we will return to that position. What we can do is to subdue the subversive elements, or these guys that are fighting or taking arms, to subdue them to a level that they are no longer a threat to the existence of the communities there. When we do that, we must immediately roll out these other aspects of security. So yes, it has to be holistic, it has to be from everyone, and good governance is part and parcel of that. And
all right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Wing Commander Salman. Thank you very much. Let me get back quickly to AIG Abuja. He's talked about using both kinetic and non-kinetic. And I'm wondering, the establishment of the Northeast Development Commission, the Northwest Development Commission now, will those serve, the non-kinetic approach to this conflict resolution?
Slightly or disagree. The context of the bizarre criminality in Northwest, in the mode of banditry, is not really an outcome of economic challenge or social degradation, so to speak. It's pure criminality. When people come, you attack the civil population, you attack the military, an accidented vehicle of the military, you surround it, put it on video, begin to degrade our federal republic. It's not just economic need, it's just profane criminality. And these are people who are challenging our statehood. I do not believe that this issue should be camouflaged through any palliative nomenclature. I see it as a direct affront on our sovereignty, a direct affront on our statehood, and it has to be responded to in the same manner. It is after destabilizing them militarily that issues of economic support, social integration, civil management, morality, and all what have you come into consideration. As it is, we need to go to war with these people. And we cannot go to war without a legal declaration by the National Assembly. What we are still doing is just like internal security activities. But I believe elements see the real taste of military action via warfare. Certainly, the aggression and the felonious activities will become a thing of the past. I want to advise ourselves as a country, as a people, that anybody who takes arms on Nigerian citizens, whatever disguise, is not supposed to be spared by any means. We have to respond with a kind of alacrity of purpose, alacrity of precision, and alacrity of speed, so that all other belligerent elements will know that they have crossed the red line. As it is, these people have crossed the red line, and there's no need for further debate, or they have tested the patience of the Federal Republic, and they have disorganized our country and our local governments and local people. We need to act in unison now and go to war with them. Any other thing will mean that we are just accommodating illegality, we are just swallowing actions detrimental to our nationhood, and we are making success of our development to be far off. So I so plead, and I so humbly present myself in this context, in this way.
It is not a humble one, AIG Abutu. From the way you have spoken and listening to one of the guests speak yesterday, he said that, all of this stemmed as a result of injustice to a particular group, around the Northwest. So, from your point of view, listening to you, you do not think that the federal government should balance this military action with reconciliation and integration efforts?
I'll take my words for what I'm saying, and take my position on what I've said previously. These people have crossed the red line. It is after military action that certainly they will call for reconciliation themselves. That is thereafter they will plead, and they will beg us as a federal republic to surrender and they come to their senses. These people have taken up arms. They are disorganizing our country. And if we don't act fast, there will be a contiguous spiral impact on what is happening in the Northwest there that may consume the whole of northern Nigeria. Part of it is taking place extensively now in the Middle Belt, particularly in Niger State. is still an escalation of what is happening in the Northwest. So we need to respond now. After that, then we begin to judge up. We begin to bring palliative. When they must have tested our strength, our determination, and our capacity to maintain our country. As it is now, they are making mockery of us. To the extent that when they do it, they're able to put it on YouTube, in order to make themselves to feel a kind of psychological warfare or not. I think this is time for us to act. We have gone beyond dialogue, and they have challenged us much more than we expect. This is my position.
AIG Abuja, I'd like to get to AIG Mustafa. You know, this thing, this banditry thing has festered for a long time, over 10 years and counting. And then you wonder, I mean, this should have been dealt with. Do we really have the capacity? Because yesterday, some of the comments made is the fact that those who are actually on the field, you know, the military operatives are not well catered for to do the needful. They do not have the necessary equipment, machinery, weapons, and all of that to deal with the bandits. Considering the fact that these bandits are being fully supported by different forces, you know, they get everything. They get fuel. No matter the price of fuel, they get it. They have ammunition. They have sophisticated you know, gadgets that they work with. Do we have the capacity to match them power for power?
We have the capacity actually. We have a well-trained military, and I know we have the capacity. But
so why has there been that? Why has there been that?
Yeah, you have the accountability. It has been said. We must monitor. There must monitor evaluation. The military has its own way of doing this, so we must change the way. We cannot be doing one thing the same way all the time. We just have to change. The narrative has to change. So that's the way forward. We just have to do it. I've said it. We cannot be just changing names of operation. Today operation, this operation, that operation, that. You know, we must measure success and look at the challenges. What are the lessons learned? We have to review these things. And the political will must be there. As I've said it, on the Niger Delta, the president was interested in this fuel production. Barrels, for a day, must reach what he wants. Everybody is in the field now. What is the level? The same thing, just apply to this one. Abuja was on the ground there. All of us were there, you know. So he has known the trend. What he's saying is there, but you must also bring in apart from the kinetic, you must use the non-kinetic.
But he has said the non-kinetic can come after.
Yeah,
but for now,
I know.
it has to be kinetic.
Now, he was on the ground. That's what I'm saying. I was the edge of the zone in Sokoto. He was commissioner in Zamfara. We worked together. So he knows what is wrong. It's based on the evidence, the ground actually. So we must learn lesson. We have the capacity, we can achieve this. We must give ourselves the timeline. Let's look at it. The accountability must be there. The military should also sit down and watch yourself. You can't be doing this operation with them for 10 years, 11 years.
All right. Thank you very much, AIG Mustafa, retired. Thank you very much. Let me get back to Wing Commander Salmanu. Now, we have a bit of a difference. Of course, everybody believes that we should do force. Mm-hmm. It's not a question of do we do it simultaneously or do one after the other. But what now needs to be done for the military? Is there any gap in what needs to be done for the military, for security agencies to be able to go in and clear the area of bandits? Of course, this is the presidential directive, which was reiterated by the Minister of State for Defense, I think just yesterday. So there's not ambiguity. What needs to be done? Is the capacity there, or there's something that needs to be done for them to be able to do this?
Well, I think the capacity is there. In your report yesterday, we talked about a number of 30,000 of these bandits. Now let's even increase by a ratio and say there are 300, or maybe there are maybe 300,000 bandits. Now you're talking about localized positions that are known, like we've heard here, and so on. And we're talking about their basic weapons that they use. Weaponry is basically a personal weapon, and they don't have, for now, as we have seen, except if they acquire it later, military-grade weapons, higher caliber weapons, and so on, or guns, and so on and so forth. They don't have air power. They are limited. So, and this speaks to the type of warfare that is there, asymmetric, because in terms of weaponry, they're weak.
So how come they have survived this long?
Yes, they have survived this long because of the certain, will I say...
Compromise?
No. When you're fighting people that are in the civil populace,
okay,
it's a complete ball game entirely. It's not that they are somewhere, it's an enemy territory declared. It's an enemy territory. Anybody that is there is an adversary or an enemy and so on, or is part of that. So you can shell those places, you can shell locations, right? You have a situation whereby it's not that they embedded the village, the next village, they just come to this village, hit the village and go back, or still within that village, there is limitations to the actions that you can take. Having said that, there is the fact that numbers in this type of warfare play a significant role, because you're going to fight likely person by person. Now, the conventional teaching is that it's 1:3. If you're approaching the enemy that has a strength of 3, you're supposed to come with about 9, so that's the conventional trend. Now, if they have 30 and it's not a conventional warfare, I tell you, 1 or 2 of them can create a havoc that can that will send ripples around the country and so on, because is the warfare of the weak. They target the most vulnerable people, locations, and facilities. And they do that because of what the effects that they created with that vehicle, for example. That's where they go and kill people in their farms.
But if you said there's no compromise, Samano, in response to Victor's question, how do they operate such that you have 3,000 or 300 of them come in motorbikes, invade a community,
and they're growing
kill people,
in numbers,
and go away?
Okay,
abduct people. I mean, all of this happening in hours, and you say
yes. So the fact is that, one, you have to look at maybe what is our response capability or what is our response time, and we talk about that. When I say that there is no compromise, I don't mean that there are no lapses. Now, the lapses could be that, are we mobile? I said it here yesterday. We are fighting a type of force that is very mobile. What those MRAPs showed is that they are not fit for that terrain. If you're going to fight someone that is on motorbike, so it can meander. And if you look at the ransoms that they always ask for money and motorbikes. A particular type of motorbikes that are very suitable in that terrain. So we have to also start looking at that. Are we going to use, I know there was a time those were introduced in the military, for example, even though they have their shortcomings. But we have to think, what do we do, or what type of equipment or weapons system or platforms do we get for it? What is our use of air power, for example? To how well do we use air power in this situation, which is very important because it has the capacity to observe from up and strike.
Take out targets.
I will see so many mistakes with that.
Yes, there have been so many mistakes, and there's that tendency. Now, I'm not saying that is the position because I've been away for so long. I don't know what is the true. There's that tendency that because of the outrow of when mistakes are made, you find out that there's that reluctance to use that form of warfare again. But I guess that shouldn't be the case. When mistakes are made, you should review and perhaps change your SOPs and so on. And it doesn't mean that you don't use it again. Because if the armed drones were used, for example, and that was an opportunity when those vehicles were there, that was an opportunity to actually take out Turji and his men. Because if they withdrew, the forces withdrew, they knew, and they withdrew because they knew that Turji was going to come there. Now, it was an opportunity to call in, for example, one, reinforcement, but to also call in airstrike because you have the position there.
So would you say there's strategic thinking in this whole fight?
Well, there is. And
so this example you just gave, why did it not play out? Why did we see something different?
Why just ask them to withdraw and then
So you see, and that is where there is a lot of, whenever an incident happens, when you're in an operation, it's always, we outside here have the benefit of hindsight, benefit of studying what is there and so on. Perhaps at that time they had split seconds to decide to take a decision. The commander at what level that was there depends. I don't know the level of the commander that was there on the ground. A lot of things will have happened.
But he has access.
Yes, the military that I know is that at the end of the day, there is after action review now. All this, what happened, I can assure you that it's been analyzed and gaps identified, and we're saying that never again. If this happens, this is what corrections made. Now, but what should have happened is that if you call in that strike, it's not something new that once in a while you have to withdraw from either a position or so on, but there are teachings to that. Even the equipment itself, I was surprised when they were able to get small arms within, or at least they showed as if they got. I don't know if they planted them there also, because what we expected is that you carry everything, make that equipment useless to whoever is coming there, right? And maybe even to a large extent rig it up, and so that when they come, you're able to detonate and, take them out, or you call in airstrike and so on and so forth. But some of this or such lapses do occur, and that is the need for review, constant review, whenever such is happening. Then regarding the issue of strategic level thinking and so on, when these directives are given, you start to think, okay, yes, like we have highlighted, there must be timeline. We can't say, okay, we're going out there in the field till banditry finishes. What if it takes 10 years? Right? We're going there. We must give timelines and say that we're going to hold people. Then also itself, beyond the effect of, kind of encouragement and the rest, moving the strategic level leadership to a particular to where the zone itself. We have seen it doesn't really.
Anyway, basically, just to make the point that there ought to be lessons learned from this particular episode, which should be put into practice going forward. Well, we'll leave the conversation here. Wing Commander Musa Salman, retired development, peace, and security expert. We appreciate your time and your contributions to the program. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, let me also thank Assistant Inspector General of Police, AIG Mohammed Mustafa, retired, Ebenai, former AIG Zone 10, comprising Sokoto, Zamfara, and Kebbi states. We thank you very much for your time and thoughts on Good Morning
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
And finally, but by no means the least, AIG Abutu Yaro, retired, former CP Zamfara State. We thank you very much for your contributions, as always, on Good Morning Nigeria.
And that's your humble submission?
So we take a break now, and when we return, our second topic on the FRSC mobile app will take place. Please don't miss it.
The federal government of Nigeria warns vandals of national assets, electricity transmission towers, cables, and other facilities to desist from this act of sabotage. Vandalism is a serious crime punishable under the law.